Yeah, I was gonna say we can go into the draft. We can go into the. I know you had a question earlier.
Yeah, let's go into the draft because that is something that we like kind of skipped over. You know, yes,
Yeah, we didn't bring that up, but
yeah, I mean, and that's kind of like expected when like it's an intro podcast, so we just wanted to like show y'all who we are and kind of like
Exactly.
the teams that we rock with, kind of our personality, and like
Exactly.
obviously y'all will start to learn it even more
right as we consistently
just
drop
keep
videos.
going. So, but so this you know we didn't even think about talking about the draft because of the playoffs is like a recap. So I guess going into that, what do you think about the
All
Spurs?
that, yeah,
Spurs getting the number one pick.
I'll kind of give it like a little rundown. Like, so the draft lottery was what? It was a few weeks ago, I think, like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks.
2 weeks ago,
yeah.
something like that.
It's a big deal, honestly, because this year it's Victor Wembanyama's year.
Yeah.
And he's kind of the unicorn. He's one of the top rated prospects in the world. Honestly, he's the top rated.
Yeah,
prospect.
people are saying that this is like probably one of the best prospects since LeBron.
Yeah, so like a little backstory, like for you guys, like he's from France.
He's like 7'4".
Yeah, he's like 7'3".
He's like a KD, like
Demigod,
handle, like and he could shoot and he's good at defense.
Super good. So that draft lottery had like if you got the number one pick, like you got the right to pick him.
Yeah, I guess so. Going into that a little bit more, then like what do you think about that? Like, because that was something as I was watching it, I was like, man,
thinking about
it's so crazy to me that like, oh, this is the Victor Wembanyama lottery,
like sweepstakes,
Like they weren't even like thinking about anybody else. Like,
so I think that's interesting that you bring that up because there are some good other prospects, and we'll kind of talk to them, and I'm sure we can kind of pull it up here on the laptop, but. Like there's Scoot Henderson and like the Thompson twins, and so like
Brandon Miller.
Brandon Miller. So when I was watching, I kind of thought about that too. I was like, I think it's kind of like crazy how like every announcer and everybody in the room kind of just wants Victor Wembanyama. Like regardless, like nobody's gonna be like, no, I don't want Victor Wembanyama. I'd rather have Scoot Henderson. Like nobody in their right mind saying that. So all those executives in that room are hoping to get that number one pick. So that's kind of like a little backstory of kind of like why this draft lottery is super important.
It's so crazy, yeah, because like this is like a generational talent is like what everyone's thinking.
Yeah, like it's gonna be like another like just superstar. So that's kind of what it was. But anyway, so yeah, like I think so basically they had the draft lottery, and obviously I think it's it's like top 14 teams.
Yeah, so the lottery is a top 14 teams.
Yeah, so like they have like the little ping pong balls, and basically like the way that the NBA works for people who are like casual watchers, like basically if a team sucks, if they have a bad record in the East or West, they get more ping pong balls in the little bucket that they choose from in the draft lottery, because that means that you have a higher chance of getting a better pick, essentially. So the commissioner will draw from this pool of ping pong balls, and essentially that's kind of like the lottery, that luck part of it. Because he's picking randomly, so that's kind of another thing. But yeah, I kind of want to hop into. I think we should kind of like start with the cake, and then kind of go back from there. So the Spurs won the number one pick. So they're probably going to take Victor Wembanyama. What do you think about that? What did you think when you saw that?
So I low key called
that. Made you feel? Yeah,
you called it like literally. So shout out to Carlos. You know what I mean? He's a big Spurs fan, and I literally told him that. This is what's it's gonna play out for you, Carlos. He hasn't really been keeping up with Spurs basketball and stuff because they haven't been the greatest. And ever since like COVID hit and stuff like that. But I told him, I'm like, you're gonna get the number one overall pick. Y'all are gonna draft Victor Wembanyama, and y'all are gonna go back to being how you were in the 90s, 2000s, and 2010s. Just
the OG Spurs,
based off of like
the
his potential alone. Like that is like what I'm getting from him. And, like, it's dope that he went there because the Spurs are such an organization where, like, I can pretty much trust them drafting anybody, and they're gonna
and they're gonna pump out a good prospect. Yeah, for sure.
And like the fact that the last time they had a number one overall pick was Tim Duncan is insane. You know what I mean? Man. Like they have consistently had generational big men, 80s. 90s and now the 2020s. So it's dope. I mean, don't get me wrong, I fucking hate the Spurs, but that's just out of being a Thunder fan and out of those wars and battles during those playoffs, early 2010s, mid 2010s, Westbrook, KD, Hart. Like, it was And especially because we live in Austin, which like doesn't have a basketball team, so people are gonna root for whatever's in Texas, and majority of them are like San Antonio fans and Dallas fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
for
it's
sure.
like, bro, like.
Yeah, I basically, I mean, yeah, like what
I can't stand them, but I respect them.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
that's my relationship.
And they're gonna
with
pump
the
out a
Spurs.
good prospect. Like
Yeah, I mean,
you can't deny like their player development essentially
at all.
So
Like,
they've always been historically good at that.
I think that's a great spot for him, and he's probably gonna be a star.
No,
honestly.
yeah, for sure.
That's
I
my
mean,
prediction.
Yeah, like I'm right there with you, man. I feel when I saw that I was it was kind of like nostalgic, bro. I don't know if that like makes sense, but I feel like it was kind of like, oh, this is the Spurs player. Like they got one with Tim Duncan and David Robinson. Like it's gonna change it's gonna change their franchise and like bring them all the stuff that they need. So I thought that was really cool. But I also wanted to ask you about the other teams that were behind them. So we're gonna talk about the top three.
Yeah.
Keep the segment like short, but
because
there's 14 teams, there's a lot.
Yeah.
And if you guys really want to, you guys can check out.
Yeah, you can check it out.
Like the full one. But the second pick's the Hornets. So what did you? How do you feel for them and kind of like being that close to getting a generational player, and now they're gonna have to kind of pick from the I guess the second
the scraps.
Yeah, I guess the scrap from Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah, I was about to say. I mean, like I don't think like there's scraps. Like I definitely think that there's gonna be some good talent. Like this draft is low key kind of like overshadowed by Victor Wembanyama. I feel like there's a lot of good players that are coming out.
Yeah,
and
like we were talking about.
Like
earlier.
exactly. So
Scoot, Thompson twins.
I think personally, I think we kind of talked about it off camera, but I think the Hornets should draft Brandon Miller. Honestly, I feel like that's kind of a perfect.
Why do you think that is?
Just because like he's like a good he's like a
combo
3,
forward.
right?
Yeah,
combo forward. He plays good defense. He's a good shot and like and like obviously like depending on what what type of play style you want, because I know you were saying you kind of like the uber athletic guards and stuff, and that's what Scoot,
the hyper elite.
Yeah, that's what Scoot Henderson is, and like
for sure.
I just feel like for the Hornets, like they already have a great guard already, and LaMelo, so it's like I don't think getting
like another guard would be super smart.
Yeah, and then I think
that.
Brandon Miller just like I said, just a better fit.
I can see that.
Like he'll probably be a great like 3-and-D, and like maybe even like could control like a Mikal Bridges type.
Yeah, but I honestly think they're gonna do that.
Yeah,
like I think you're calling it, bro. I think like a GM, like if you ask obviously like MJ kind of what they're thinking and kind of what they're doing over in Charlotte, I feel like they're trying to build kind of like, because they know they have LaMelo for sure, and he's already proven that he's like an all-star, like that he's a certified bucket. There's no way you can't tell me LaMelo Ball isn't that guy.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
like basically I feel like they're gonna kind of go with Brandon Miller. They kind of have to. I feel like he's that combo forward they're looking for. It's a nice piece with Bridges. So
Bridges
like,
and LaMelo.
Yeah, and LaMelo. And Mark Williams, a few other players.
Don't they have Terry Rozier still?
Yeah, they got Scary Terry on there for sure.
Coming off the bench. So
for sure. So the Hornets are still in a good spot.
Good spot, man. It's not like
you're a Hornets fan.
Obviously you would want that number one. Everyone wants that number one pick, realistically. But I mean, there's still. If y'all have like a good drafting, like scouts and shit, like there's good talent in this draft, and I think
100%.
They're good plug and play type players. You know what I mean? So
and then this last one, we'll kind of talk about Portland.
So this one that we're looking at right now, NBADraft.net, 2023 mock draft. They have Portland with the number 3 pick, taking Scoot Henderson. What do you think about that?
I think that's how it's gonna go. I think the top 3 will go in order.
Really?
Like I feel like Brandon Miller's moved up those draft boards, so like he's kind of been on second. I think he's second on ESPN's mock too. So he's been moving up the ranks like past.
I think it's just the way he plays.
Well, I think it's like what you were saying earlier, just the combo forward. He kind of reminds me of Jabari Smith Jr.
Really?
Like just the 6'8", 6'9", can shoot. Can definitely play
Jabari
defense.
was hooping like that. I wasn't really watching. The
Rockets bro. Like he was hooping like that at Auburn, bro. Like he had a strap on him for sure. So he kind of reminds me of that Brandon Miller prototype. But I think Scoot is gonna fit well on the Blazers. I feel like Dame again. Like Dame deserves so much more in Portland. So I feel like if they were able to get Scoot, like another hyper athletic, guard, and it's somebody like Dame's never really played with. I mean, he had McCollum, but he wasn't no hyper athlete.
You don't think like that's just like too much guard play though? Because they have Scoot. If they draft Scoot,
they have
Scoot,
Simons. Yeah,
Dame, Simons. Shade and Sharp. Right?
Sharp. Yeah. So I mean, I'm gonna be honest,
bro.
I think guards, and I think Jokic has changed this now a little bit in Embiid, but like guards still rule the NBA. Yeah, I would say like forwards and guards right now are what like teams really need. Like they want a small forward or like a shooting guard, point guard who's just dropping buckets and getting buckets. So I feel like, like, yeah, they might be a little guard heavy at first. I'm sure they can, develop some bigs. Like they got Greg Brown on there. Shout out Greg Brownie from Austin, Texas.
Oh, word?
Yeah, he's on the Blazers for sure. Shit. Yeah. So, got to give a shout out to him. But yeah, I mean, I feel like they can get some bigs still, even if they drafted Scoot. I don't think taking Scoot would hurt them, if that makes sense. So, yeah. What about you?
I don't know. I think I don't. Like, I feel like Portland is in such a weird spot right now. Like, you've had Dame there, and, like, he's obviously wants to stay with y'all, so he's not going to leave. But, like, you have yet to pair him up with someone that is, like, an actual, like, stud, besides McCollum. And, like, and we go back to, obviously, that I feel like that their potential was peaking at, like, a conference finals.
Yeah, man.
Like realistically, you know what I mean? And it shows on paper because – just the way they're just like ball dominant players that are offensive heavy and they don't really defend. So it just wasn't a recipe for success. Besides that one, like they had like
I think
they had a good squad. Like Alfred Camino.
Yeah, bro. Like I don't know if you remember this, but like Dame was putting up like 50 in the playoffs. Yeah, bro, like just dragging them against the Nuggets. So yeah, they had like a few good little runs, playoff runs here mixed throughout the last few years. But yeah, the Blazers have been.
So like, weird situation, and I don't know. I don't really like. Yeah, I guess you could take like the best talent, but I feel like you already have a shit ton of guards, and you're gonna have to either trade one of those or.
And Simons is the real deal too.
Yeah, like, I fuck with Simons. So are you just gonna play 3 guards? You know what I mean? I mean, you could probably, but like.
I'm still taking.
I feel like they're just like at that point they're just like, hey, go out there, hoop, let's see what we can do, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah,
like,
I think the Blazers are in a good situation to where like nobody really expects them to win a championship yet. No. So like taking Scoot Henderson again like isn't gonna hurt them in the long run necessarily if he turns out to be a great player. Like if they're able to develop him. So like I feel like that's probably what they'll do. Yeah. But yeah, man. I mean, I feel like these top 3 picks are kind of locked in. Yeah. We'll see how it goes.
You think those are going to be like obviously Wembanyama, but what about Miller and Henderson? Do you think they're going to be like generational talents, or what do you think their like ceiling is? I guess
I feel like Scoot's ceiling is higher than Brandon Miller's. Okay. Just because I haven't seen Brandon Miller play against NBA competition, and like Scoot was in the G League. Like, he's been in the G League for some years. Yeah, 2 years I think now.
Where is he from?
Honestly, maybe I don't know. Honestly, maybe Georgia. I don't know. But no, Scoot's like
Cali.
Yeah, Cali. Okay, so Scoot's the real deal to me, man. Like I feel like his ceiling's like.
Yeah, they gave him a 97 overall.
Yeah, like he has a high grade, bro. Like he's the real deal. He's like a Ja Morant-esque type of prototype.
They said NBA comparison, Derrick Rose / Ja Morant.
Ja Morant, yeah, for sure. So that's kind of who he reminds me of. I think that's definitely special. But Brandon Miller's no slouch either, man. Like
let's see what
he was getting buckets at Bama, and as long as he can kind of keep his name out of trouble, I feel like he'll be straight.
NBA comparison, Paul George.
Okay, so like another combo forward. Yeah, exactly.
Combo forward that can probably
PG's a good
has a good handle, plays good defense.
Exactly,
is big, lengthy. So
yeah. So awesome. We'll see. It's gonna be interesting.
What they have for Wembanyama. What they just like?
Oh, it's probably 100. Yeah, it's legendary type of play. We'll see.
Oh shit.
We'll see.
All right, we'll cut after this. Ralph Sampson. That's a name.
Wow.
If you know, you know. Like that's kind of
comparing Victor Wembanyama to Ralph Sampson. I
hope not. That means he'll get injured.
I was about to say like that's not.
Let's hope not. But
the best.
Oh shit! Whoa. We're doing this now.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I know you thought that video was fire. Smash that like button so we know you want more, and leave a comment of a poop emoji so that I know you got to the end. Goodbye. Oh, I gotta get out of here.